I was down in Puerto Rico doing some meetings one time, and the Pentecostal church in Puerto Rico on Sundays, they would have women out in the foyers of the church. And if you came in and the heels on your shoes, high heel shoes, if they were too high, in order for you to come into the church, you had to let these women cut these heels off to a length that was considered righteous. If your skirt had a split on it, well, women have to have splits on their skirts, otherwise they can't hardly walk. But if the split on your skirt was too high, then the women there in the foyer would sew up that, and all that was to make you righteous. That has nothing to do with righteousness. I was reading a post of it. I'll tell you, I just almost my head almost blew up. A guy who is just convinced that he is the guru of grace and everything in the Bible is about grace. And of course, he's got unscriptural definitions of grace. He's got ungodly definitions of grace. And man, he was bashing the Ten Commandments and talking about how the Ten Commandments were a ministry of death. And it's like, no, the Bible doesn't say any of the commandments were a ministry of death. It says the old covenant was. And it's like, all of the commandments of God still tell us how to relate to each other in righteousness. The commandments tell us what love should look like if we put it in practice. It tells us what faithfulness should look like if we put it in practice. It tells us what loyalty will look like if we put it in practice. It tells us what kindness will look like if we put it into practice. And there's never anything burdensome about it. If the Apostle John said, look, if the commandments are burdensome to you, then you haven't overcome the world. You are still tied up in the world system. You still love the ungodly way that the world does stuff. You're still operating from greed and selfishness and all of these kinds of things.